insurance.
My issue here, it has been understandably, the healthcare system is a mess in this country. There's nobody who says otherwise. Nobody's sane. But it's not, the government has no right to make you buy anything. That's in the Constitution, like it or not. That's the way it is. And it should be that way. I don't want the government telling me to buy anything or not buy anything, because then you get to Michael Bloomberg trying to regulate your soda cup. But the second thing is Obama, and we're going to play you the proof here in just a minute, insisted it's not a tax, and he's never going to tax middle-class families to pay for this. Well, he lied. He lied the way George Bush the First lied 20 years ago when he ran for president and said, read my lips, no new taxes, and then he raised taxes.
How many times did Obama, on the campaign trail, even after he became president, he would not raise taxes on families that make less than $250,000 a year? Well, some of the people that can't afford health insurance will probably fall into that category, won't they?
If you can't,
they're going to have to pay this penalty, this tax.
If you don't want to buy health insurance, may cost you $695 just for starters by 2016. Let's play you, though, in 2008, candidate Obama, these are his words, not ours, where he, in a speech, said he would never do what he did.
I believe that every single American has the right to affordable, accessible health care, a right that should never be subject to Washington politics or industry profiteering, and that should never be purchased with tax increases on middle-class families, because that is the last thing we need in an economy like this. Folks are already having a tough enough time.
Wow. And now the Supreme Court says it's a tax. And the only reason we're upholding this mandate is because it's a tax. Their words, not ours.
So does he accept the victory on his health care law versus the loss over his lie on taxes? I don't know.
I mean, and it's not just any, you're talking over $1 trillion and hitting solidly in the middle class. I mean, it's not going to hit the wealthy people. The wealthy people have plenty of insurance.
No, and there are exemptions, I read, by the way. If you were below a certain income level, you wouldn't have to pay the penalty. And there's also religious exemptions. I have to look into that.
Yeah,
but
I'm
anyway,
going to join a religion and get exempted.
This is going to hit younger people, healthier people, and as John said, people with some middle class income the most.
Yeah, if
who are uninsured.
If you're young and healthy, the IRS wants your money. How dare you be young and healthy? You're young and healthy. You must buy health insurance, or you get taxed. So says the government.
Because
that's the stuff that makes me crazy.
If you buy the health insurance and get into the pool, it helps pay the cost of the whole system, because on the other end will be the elderly sick people draining all the money out of it.
All right.
It's always the case with insurance.
2009. Obama's on ABC with George Stephanopoulos. And Stephanopoulos insists this is a tax. Obama wants nothing of it. Play it.
You were against the individual mandate during the campaign. Under this mandate, the government is forcing people to spend money, fining you if you don't. How is that not a tax?
Well, hold on a second, George. Here's what's happening. You and I are both paying $900 on average, our families, in higher premiums because of uncompensated care. Now, what I've said is that if you can't afford health insurance, you certainly shouldn't be punished for that. That's just piling on. If, on the other hand, we're given tax credits, we've set up an exchange, you are now part of a big pool, we've driven down the costs, we've done everything we can, and you actually can afford health insurance, but you've just decided, you know what, I want to take my chances. And then you get hit by a bus, and you and I have to pay for the emergency room care.
That may be, but it's still a tax increase.
That's not true, George. For us to say that you've got to take a responsibility to get health insurance.
All right, enough. Supreme Court now says it's a tax. Now what are you going to say?
He also, in other interviews, compared it to the mandate to buy car insurance. Now, what was the rationale behind that not being a fair comparison
because
to the health insurance?
You don't have to drive a car.
Yeah, you don't have to drive a car. That's what I thought. We discussed this.
This is a tax on existing. If you exist, you must buy health insurance. If you don't buy health insurance, you're taxed because you exist.
Right, unless you're immortal and never get sick, you don't have.
All right, when we come back, other lies from other Obama administration, Cabinet Secretary Kathleen Sebelius from Health and Human Services. and the Office of Management and Budget, the director, Jeffrey Zients. They testified earlier this year insisting it's not a tax, or they're not sure if it's a tax, or they can't say if it's a tax because they're not a lawyer. You won't believe the bobbing and weaving these two did. But I don't know, according to the Supreme Court, it's a tax. We'll play it when we come back. John and Ken, KFI, AM 640, more stimulating talk radio.